Tell me if you've ever had this thought. It is so expensive to be healthy. Yeah, same. Me too. I mean, honestly, it can seem like such a huge expense to choose healthier options, to, pursue health and well-being and make better choices and all the things. And I get it. It can be so pricey and it can feel really overwhelming. And so I want to talk about that today because I don't know if you've ever heard the term or the phrase, being healthy is for the wealthy or health is for the wealthy. And to be honest, it really can seem like that. It can seem like everything that is healthier, better for you, all the things is more expensive. You're listening to She with me, Jordan Lee Dooley, a faith-based wellness podcast to support you in your motherhood journey and inspire you to be good to your body. Come invited, leave ignited. If you go to the grocery store and you're deciding between the regular grapes and the organic grapes, or the regular tomatoes and the organic tomatoes, the organic is more expensive, right? If you are choosing between the non-toxic soap on the shelf or the conventional soap on the shelf, the non-toxic is probably going to be pricier. And so when we have these experiences, they reinforce that idea that being healthy, that pursuing well-being and caring for our bodies well is expensive. And that can make it feel really out of reach. It can make it feel like, well, gosh, there's nothing I can do, right? And I want to talk about that today because I think this experience, this belief that honestly is backed up by a lot of very real experiences for many of us, right? I went to the store and the healthier option was more expensive than the conventional or, normal option or whatever. I think this belief that pursuing health and caring for our bodies and taking care of ourselves well is expensive can truly be such a barrier to doing the things that are within our reach. And that's going to look different for each of us. But my word of caution here, as much as it's a valid feeling and as much as health absolutely can be expensive, especially if you are, considering buying all the top of the line products and, investing in fancy gadgets and fitness tech and cold plunge tubs and saunas and all these additional things that have become such a huge part of wellness culture, 100 supplements, all the things. Yeah, it's going to cost you a penny or a pretty penny to say the least. And I think sometimes, and this might be a little bit of a hot take, but I think it's important to discuss. I think sometimes the belief and the sometimes very true fact that healthier things, pursuing wellness, et cetera, can be more expensive, can be more of a cost, can be more pricey. I think sometimes we believe that when it comes to money, when it comes to the financial investment. And while that can be true, like we've already established, sometimes it's actually more expensive when it comes to our time or our convenience. We live in a world of fast-paced everything, 2-day free shipping. Everything is convenient. You want a table, you book it on your phone. If you want something, delivered by tomorrow, you pop something into your Amazon cart and choose your Prime shipping. Like, we are so used to things being fast and convenient and at our doorstep. And while those are great things, right? Like, I'm all about grocery delivery, especially as a busy mom. Like, I will take advantage of things when and where I can. However, I think sometimes in our society and in our culture of convenience that we live in, we have gotten so used to everything being pretty much at our fingertips, pretty quickly, available or accessible, instant gratification, that sometimes seeking out the better, healthier options, doing the slow, boring, everyday stewardship stuff to care for our health, to care for our family's health, it's not as fast. It's not always as convenient. Sometimes it requires us to go out of our way a little bit. And so sometimes we, believe it's more expensive, which again, yes, it can be, especially if we're utilizing the fastest, most convenient way of accessing healthier resources, healthier options, healthier food, all of that. But that's not to say it can't be done affordably. It might just take a little bit more effort, a little bit more researching, a little bit more time to go to the local farm and pick up the eggs instead of buying the organic ones on the shelf right next to the conventional, right? So this notion that it's always more expensive, I think can actually be, I don't want to say an excuse, but something that can hold us back from even considering, well, what are the things that are within my reach financially? What are the things that I can be doing? How might I go a little bit out of my way to source something a little bit better, to, be good to my body in ways that may not be fancy, may not be with, up with the latest trends. And I might not be cold plunging and saunaing and all the saunaing, is that a word? Saunaing every day. But can I go for a walk? Can I sweat? Can I cook a home cooked meal, whether it's made with organic or conventional food? Regardless, can I make it at home with healthy fats and make a balanced plate instead of ordering out? I think we kind of allow this idea that it's always more expensive to be healthy to hold us back from actually doing the things that we could be doing every single day that may not be super exciting, that may not look super flashy or fun, may not be the latest wellness trend, but that really care for our body well and align with the principles God laid out in scripture. And if you look at the creation account, a lot of what he instructed and gave us to do for our bodies did not require that we have fancy gym memberships and, all of the most flashy wellness tools and fitness gadgets and all of that. It was get outside, sunlight, move your body, be in community, hydrate, eat real food, right? Like these things that are really not incredibly difficult, but can feel difficult because of how convenient it is to get the fast, the processed, the packaged, all of that in our culture at a relatively cheap price. So we kind of get the idea that the unhealthy stuff is always going to be cheaper than the healthy stuff, which isn't always the case. I actually think of the Proverbs 31 woman when it comes to being willing to be a little inconvenienced, to care for our bodies well, to invest in our health, even if it's not, the quickest, fastest option, but doing so in a way that's financially responsible and wise. There's actually a verse in Proverbs 31 that says, she is like the merchant ships. She brings her food from afar. And I want to read a little excerpt from Be Good to Your Body because I wrote about this and I kind of broke this down as I did a little bit of research when it comes to the Proverbs 31 woman, specifically this verse, because it speaks to her character. And I think there's something we can learn from it when it comes to investing in our health and being good to our bodies. Okay, so here's the excerpt from Be Good to Your Body. I think we automatically assume that healthier options are always more expensive. If you compare the conventional produce or organic produce sitting next to each other on the grocery store shelf, the organic is always going to cost more. Yet that doesn't mean there aren't ways to find these healthier options more affordably. Sometimes doing things a little differently to source quality food or other products is not necessarily always more expensive monetarily, but can be inconvenient, or at least less convenient than we'd like. It takes some research to find farms to source from. It also requires integrating local farm pickups into your schedule or going to the farmer's market every Saturday. It can require us to go out of our way to seek the best quality that we can find while staying within our means. I know it sounds a little crazy, but if you look at the Bible, isn't that what the Proverbs 31 woman did? Verse 14 says, she is like the ships of the merchant. She brings her food from afar. While thoughts and the specific interpretations of this verse vary among scholars, I did a little digging of my own, and a few consistent themes emerged when looking at the commentaries. 1, the Proverbs 31 woman doesn't settle for what's convenient. 2, she will go out of her way to provide the best food for her household. 3, she travels far to find bargains or at a minimum the best price. And 4, she searches widely for what she buys. Obviously, there are only so many hours in a day, and grocery delivery can be a beautiful gift. No shame in taking advantage of it. However, when we're considering stewardship of both the physical body and our finances, the Proverbs 31 woman has a lot to teach those of us living in a world of Instacart and same-day shipping. From other context clues in the passage, we can conclude that she is wise with her money, so it can't be implied that she just buys the best of everything regardless of what it does to her family financially. But she is thoughtful about what she spends her resources on and doesn't just choose the easiest thing if there are better options out there. The world is obsessed with convenience and may even poke fun at a woman calling her high maintenance if she looks for regenerative farming practices or cooks from scratch or is choosy about the products she spends her money on or brings into her home. But Proverbs 31 is a reminder that biblically, inconvenience does not equal bad, and having high standards does not necessarily make someone high maintenance. Can our search for the best quality get out of hand or turn into an unhealthy obsession? Of course, anything can. But just because that's a possibility does not mean we should throw all standards or thoughtfulness out the window when it comes to these things. It does matter how we spend our resources and feed our families. The details of what each of us will be able to do will vary based on our unique situations, seasons of life, and budgets. That's a given. But the Bible is clear that being thoughtful and seeking the best quality is godly. And we as women who are the wives and mothers of our families have an important God-appointed role to be the gatekeepers of our home. Being the gatekeepers of our homes requires using wisdom to decide who and what gets to contribute to our family's values, meaning what comes into our home through TV shows, social media, relationships, and the products we use and the foods we consume. All those things affect our mental, emotional, and physical well-being. So is being thoughtful about our wellness bougie? Is it being super crunchy, too picky? Or is it actually biblical, part of a high and holy calling? I'd argue that with a healthy heart posture, it's the latter. That doesn't mean we can control everything, should live beyond our means, or need to buy all of the top shelf, highest quality products if that doesn't make sense financially. It does mean that it is our duty to be wise and, when possible, go the extra mile for our well-being and that of our families, instead of always settling for what's quick, convenient, cheap, or easy. The following question might step on some toes, but I'm going to ask it in love. Is it possible that we avoid the inconvenience of looking for better options where and when we can because we've made up our minds ahead of time that it's just going to be too expensive? I think that's a really important question to consider, and that's why I put it in here. Do we believe the lie that if we can't change it all, if we can't do everything, we might as well do nothing? I know I've been guilty of that before. But rather than automatically avoiding possibly healthier alternatives out of fear that something is out of our means, it is far better to look at our finances, do some digging, and find where we can afford to make some healthy changes, even if it's just one small thing at a time. I get that a lot of what you might like to do may not be realistic for your budget. I mean, the same has been true for me too in different seasons. But my challenge to you is to be sure that is true rather than just making assumptions. Research and investigate your options. Dare to go out of your way like the Proverbs 31 woman and take some time to find what you might be able to do a little more affordably while living within your means. Maybe paying higher prices for organic everything is out of the question right now. But could you consider prioritizing more home-cooked meals and less takeout or fast food, cooking 80% of your meals at home? Contrary to popular belief, fast food can be more expensive than eating organic home-cooked meals. This is crazy. I actually recently learned that if you were to go on Burger King's website, this was as of the end of 2024, if you go to the Burger King website and you go to order a Whopper, fries, some sauce, and a drink, which would be kind of a total meal for one person, that would amount to $15 for one meal. Now, that was at the end of 2024. It might even be more than that now. But if you go to Whole Foods Market, which is otherwise known as Whole Paycheck, or one of the most expensive grocery stores on the face of the earth, you could go there and get organic chicken, organic potatoes, and organic broccoli, enough for 2 meals, and it would amount to about $10 per meal. So comparing those two things, you could get 2 meals for $20 that are whole organic foods, something to consider. Because again, that's just proof. So often we think, oh, the healthy food's expensive, it's more expensive, but yet we'll drive through the, fast food takeout line or whatever, and we assume it's cheaper, but it's not. But it's not always. And so actually doing some investigating and actually looking at it can be quite eye-opening, and it can be quite convicting of, oh, if I just put a little bit more effort and time into researching and looking at what I can do and being a little bit more thoughtful about how and where I allocate funds and spend my funds, I actually might be able to eat and source things a little bit healthier than I realize I can. And as I already mentioned, of course, there are plenty of healthy things that truly are more expensive. Fancy treatments, gym memberships, Apple Watches, fitness tech, saunas, and other popular gadgets. But the truth is, getting back to nature, even just, 1 to 2% closer to how God designed us to live, doesn't require all those fancy things. Those are helpful. Those are great tools. If they're within your budget, awesome, go for it. They are extras. So let's avoid the mistake of not making any inconvenient investments into our health before actually investigating what we can do, because we may be surprised to find there's more that we can do. And honestly, it's important to investigate where we may be neglecting doing the everyday free things, the things that aren't super exciting and flashy and cool to show on Instagram, but really do make an impact and add up day after day, right? The disciplines that don't cost an arm and a leg. And that's not to say everyone has equal access to everything, but I think we waste a lot of time focusing on how expensive health tools and treatments may be out of our reach, completely forgetting that some of the healthiest things we can do are free, right? Like walking, right? Getting fresh air every day, stretching, breathing deeply, spending time in nature, plugging into a community, investing in relationships, reading instead of scrolling, hydrating my body well. Like those are basic daily disciplines that really don't cost anything. So we have to kind of come back to, am I even prioritizing those things? Am I doing those things on a daily basis? Or am I so focused on how these additional extra health tools, gadgets, swaps, whatever are out of reach, that I'm missing and overlooking the basic, free, boring, everyday, good stewardship stuff I need to be doing? That's the thing we have to be reflecting on and asking ourselves honestly and answering honestly each day, because here's the thing. We were never asked to do it all. The pressure to be a purist, to live 100% toxin free and use all clean products, never touch unfiltered water, and eat only completely organic is not a pressure that comes from God, period. The only person putting the pressure on you to keep up with them is you. we can so quickly get into the keeping up with the Joneses mindset when it comes to health and wellness and that kind of stuff too. It's not just stuff, right? It's all of the healthy things, disciplines, memberships, tools, etc. We'd love to invest in, but cannot. We can end up allowing the comparison factor when we view someone else and everything that they're doing to discourage us from doing the things that we can do, even if it's not nearly as much as what they can do, right? So take the pressure off of yourself. So if you take nothing else away from this, I hope that this challenges you to consider what investments can you make into your health and into being good to your body, because it truly is an investment, not just a sunk cost, right? It's an investment into your future. It's an investment into your well-being. But also remember that God asked you to steward what you have been given, to be faithful with what you have. So you can take the pressure off of yourself to do it all or keep up with someone else. I promise you will be so much healthier when you spend less time comparing yourself to someone with a different financial situation than you and actually just do what God has asked you to do. Because there will always be someone with a little more than you, and there will always be someone with a little less than you. So stop comparing and just start doing what you can do to be good to your body where you are with what you have right now. There's so much more I could say on this subject, but I'll let you read that and be good to your body. There's a whole chapter on investing in your health, investing in your well-being, but not just financially, from a time standpoint, from a faithfulness standpoint, like everything we do to be good to our bodies truly is an investment of our resources, our time, our talent, our energy, everything, but it's worth it. And it's part of our calling. And it's an investment into not just our bodies, not just our life here on earth, but our calling and the impact that has on eternity. So there really is a high and holy calling that we have. And our health is so key to that. Right? Like we are put in this earth to do the things God made us to do. And it's really hard to do that when we feel terrible and we're constantly complaining and, just not caring for ourselves well. And so that's really where this is kind of a challenge of what can you do to invest in your health? Are you doing the everyday basic free things to care for your body well, to have the energy, to have the vitality, to have the clarity, the clear mind, to show up for your calling well? To invest into the things God's made you to do, to invest time and energy and heart into what he's given you to do. That's really the heartbeat of this book, of this entire, not just this chapter, but of Be Good to Your Body. The heart behind it is like, be good to your body because you have a high and holy calling, Like if we kind of can shift from this is just vain or this is just, trendy or whatever. No, like this is a biblical principle to be good to our bodies, not to achieve the perfect body, not to achieve perfect health, because we just won't do that on this side of heaven. We live in a broken world, but to feel as well as we possibly can with the resources we've been given and to fulfill our callings on this side of heaven, because that impacts eternity. And so it's such a bigger thing than just this like temporal little crunchy, trendy exercise that I think we can sometimes get discouraged by. So anyway, be good to your body. This is a little preview of one of the topics we cover. If this resonated with you, or this is kind of just a subject you want to dive more into, I highly encourage you to grab a copy of Be Good to Your Body. Link is in the show notes, or you can grab it anywhere books are sold. You can also grab it on my website, jordanleedooley.com/BGTYB, the acronym for Be Good to Your Body. So we'll put a link to that. You can order from Amazon, Target, Barnes & Noble, indie bookstores, anywhere books are sold, anywhere you love to. I truly believe this will help you in your wellness journey, but also in how you're viewing your body as the vessel God gave you to carry out your high and holy calling. To learn more about the She Podcast or get involved in our growing community, come hang out on Instagram at jordanleedooley, or check out the show notes for each episode at jordanleedooley.com/show notes. Thanks for tuning in today, and until next time, stay rooted in faith and remember to do the small things to be good to your body daily.